everyone, we're back live. You're watching us live here on Behance. And I'm Ariadne Raimundakis. I'm a lettering artist in San Francisco, and I'm on the Adobe Fonts team. And I'm so excited to have all of you. I already see a lot of you joining in the chat. So thanks for already being here. I see a few people from yesterday's live. So I know you've been following along with Josh's work. And I just wanted to show everyone the schedule for today because there's a lot going on and making sure you're on top of things. So right now we're here with Josh Ryan for hand lettering. And then at 11:30, we have Paul Trani right after us doing an illustration daily creative challenge. So definitely join in for that. After that, we have Anthony Grant doing web app design. And then Howard Pinsky doing the XD Creative Challenge. So there's so much going on. There's all the different apps that you might be interested in today represented. And today we have Josh Ryan joining us. Hey, Josh.
Hello,
Welcome.
hello.
Josh is joining us from Houston, Texas. I'm in San Francisco, and I'm sure our chat is from all over the world. So definitely tell us where you're from. I see Rubesh is back, Ferry is back from yesterday, Giortimia, it's nice to see you again, Cody is here. So let us know where you're from, we'll definitely call you out. And yesterday, if you didn't see the stream, we were working in Fresco and brought our designs into Photoshop. I say our, it was Josh, but I felt like I was creating with him.
We all work together.
We worked together. And if you didn't catch it, you can watch the replay that's readily available, and it'll be available from now on. So whenever you want to revisit what Josh was creating, you can watch those replays. And if you want to see something that we referenced today that was live yesterday, you can just go back and watch it. So we can go straight in once we say hi to a few people and see where they're from. Ferry is from Indonesia, Nicola is from Quebec, Lindsay is from Kansas City-ish. I don't know all the suburbs around Kansas City, so if you tell me where exactly, I won't know, but you can still tell me. Felix is from San Antonio. We have someone from Japan. We have Andreas in Germany. We have Rubesh in India, who says it's their second stream. I remember you saying yesterday was your first, so that's awesome. You're back. We have Istanbul, we have Florida, Oregon. That's great. So welcome everyone, and we're here in Adobe Fresco. Josh, do you want to just talk a little bit about your love notes, just to give a summary? We did one yesterday, but I know you have a whole series.
So yeah, I'm probably most well known, show that, for my series of love notes for introverts that got turned into a couple books and some products and fun things like that. My name is Josh Ryan, as you said. I'm a designer, illustrator, absurdist, maker of things. You can see my love notes and other stuff I make on the internet. I'm at I Make Things on TikTok, Instagram, Behance, Clubhouse, Neopets, all the internet places I Make Things, and you can see that stuff. I thought today, since I already did a big intro yesterday, today I'd do something different and do a two truths and a lie. So one of these is a lie. I guess maybe sound off in the chat for which one you think is a lie. First one is I have a national award for falling on my face. Second one is I had a starring role in a movie with David Hasselhoff. And the third one is I was an undefeated WWE style pro wrestler. So while we work,
that's a tough one.
Figure out that one. Here's what we worked on yesterday, which was a love note inspired by Adobe. And the finished product is on my Instagram at I Make Things. But I think today we were taking suggestions from the chat yesterday as to what to make a love note themed about. and the one I liked the most was self-care and self-love. So maybe writing a love note to ourselves, or a love note to make ourselves feel better and embrace our quirks and things that we view as flaws, but are probably just like the unique fun bits of us. So yeah, I'm gonna get started brainstorming on that one.
Great. We already have answers. Catherine thinks WWE wrestler is a lie. I agree. I think that one's the lie, but I'll never know until the end, I guess. Jessica says, I love the design on Josh's top and the one he was wearing yesterday. Yes, a lot of people loved that. And he put it in his stories. He shared the artist behind yesterday's sweatshirt. So if you go to his Instagram stories,
yeah, that was
that's there.
Miss Swindin on Instagram. This one's by Vitchcraft, who's an amazing artist and illustrator, too. And like her stuff is just so amazing. So I'm gonna write some ideas around self-care and self-love. If anybody in the chat has ways that they like to practice self-care or like hype themselves up, make themselves feel better, feel free to throw it in the chat and I'll use some of those suggestions.
Yes, let us know. We're taking all your suggestions. And I know a lot of people have joined through YouTube because it's comes up on your YouTube notifications and you join in, but come over to Behance so that we can see you in the chat and tell us where you're from, tell us where you're coming from. We'd love to see you here on Behance. Another thing we're doing today is an artist spotlight. So a little further down into the stream at about an hour and 30 minutes in, we'll be sharing a Behance profile of an artist that we want to promote. And you can also nominate someone to be the artist spotlight. So if you're in the chat on Behance and you go to the artist spotlight tab on the top right, you'll see that information. So stay tuned for that. Clever says aromatherapy.
Yeah.
For self-care. Fairy says good artwork. Giortimia says writing for myself. I like aromatherapy. Kelsey says getting outdoors, hanging out in nature. That's definitely been a lot of people's savior during the pandemic, being able to go outside.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of these are about just unplugging and getting away from technology.
Yeah.
So maybe we just shut off the stream here and we all just do that. I don't have to do any more art.
Yeah, why are we all looking at screens? We're not practicing self-care right now.
Yeah. I'm looking at 3 screens right now.
Gardening, Cody says.
Oh, not wind.
Wind.
Wine. I've had too much wine, so I cannot spell.
Yes, wine's a good one.
Nap. Oh, I like Lindsay said nap. Naps are my love language.
I've never been good at napping. That's one skill that I would like to develop.
I'm so good at napping that I can nap. And every time I nap, if I set an alarm for 10 or 15 minutes, I will wake up within 1 minute of the alarm going off.
Wow.
My body has just timed itself at this point to be like, all right, 15 minutes, let's go.
Barry says talking with girlfriend. Lindsay says visiting my mom. Reverb Mike says knock on spackle, things work out. Spackle on, my friend. I think that was responding to something that I didn't get, but I read it anyway. Michelle says hi. Hey, Michelle, welcome.
Maybe you just like you punch a hole in the wall and then you bust out the spackle to fix
Maybe
that hole.
that's what it is.
That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Caroline says, don't be hard on yourself. Ooh, Wed says dancing. Dancing's a good one. I've been doing Zumba classes that I find on YouTube, and that's been very fun and therapeutic.
I thought you were gonna say.
Baking.
I thought you were gonna say you do them on Zoom, and it would be like a Zoom Zumba class, which was
Those definitely exist, and
that's
they are
just fun
called
to say.
Zumba. Yep.
Zumba. Yeah, dancing is I posted to my stories before this that like anytime I'm bummed or nervous, I do a lot of like goofy people dancing. This is like my move right here. It's just a lot of upper body movements back and forth. Not a lot of footwork. My feet don't work so good. But
Well, on Zoom, no one can see your feet, so
yeah.
you just have to be good at the hand movements.
I'm river dancing right now. Nobody can tell.
It's like those videos on TikTok where they splice someone else's legs onto the body and the other person's legs are like river dancing. So everyone at home watching or wherever you are, do a little upper body dance so we can all get into the mood to treat ourselves.
Music
Uriel,
meditation.
yes, Uriel says, treat yourself like your own best friend. If you would do it for your friend, then there you go. That's a great piece of advice. Miranda says, movie watching and TV watch parties with friends. Hi, Afroja. Miranda says, yoga. That's a great one. Catherine says, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Okay, so let's go. I think we got some good stuff here.
I think it's time to jump in with these ideas.
I like dancing. I like wine.
Is it going to be like you're talking to the wine? From whose perspective is the love note?
It's the wine. Yeah, it's the wine talking to me. I don't know if anybody's here has played Slap Bag before. It's a fun game you play with a bag of Franzia where you just slap the bag of Franzia and then chug it. Maybe like
For those who aren't American, I apologize.
Here in America, we have a thing called Franzia, which is wine in a bag.
Yes.
And the fun thing to do is to just hit it really hard.
Maybe that's your self-care. Just hitting a bag of wine.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. Slap a bag. That's all right. It's not great. I'm gonna give that a C+.
C+. Cody says, if your wine is talking to you, you've had too much. That sounds true to me. Fairy says, dancing with wine. Yeah, I think those can definitely go together. Miranda says, I haven't done that since college.
Yeah, it's a big college thing. Or here in Texas, we have a lot of rivers. It's a good river activity because one, the bag, it's self-contained, so it's safe from the water and you can seal it back off. And you can just kind of chuck. It's a good thing that you can chuck person to person as you're tubing down a river.
Yeah, I've never done tubing, but I really want to do that.
It's the best way to get a sunburn.
So what does this say? Wine me,
dine me. Wine me, dine me. I won't finish that because it's a PG. We want to keep this family friendly. But maybe we change it to say like wine me, dine me. I'm fine being me.
Oh.
Does that work? That's something. What else do we got?
Maybe there could be something about, now I'm thinking of fine wine. Like I appreciate myself like a fine wine.
Oh yeah, like a fine wine.
What does everyone have? Now that we have all these ideas up, let us know if you have a phrase that we can use, because I'm sure we could get some great phrases from the chat.
I feel like there's like a don't whine about it thing, but that also feels like something my mom has on like that she got from like Hobby Lobby and is on like some tea towels around her house for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I think we've got wine covered. What about napping? There's like that phrase, like getting slept on, like somebody slept on something, like people aren't appreciating your hard work is like they slept on you. Like, so maybe there's something like when people are sleeping on me, I take a nap. I sleep on them, maybe.
I don't know. I think it should be an idea that you're sleeping on rather than a person.
Yeah.
To keep it, you know,
PG.
PG.
Keep it above. Keep it positive.
Rubesh says, dance now or nap off.
Dance now, nap off.
That's demanding. I like it. Those of you that are just joining, you might be wondering what all these words are and what's happening. We're in Adobe Fresco. We're here with Josh Ryan, and this is live. So you are able to participate and give us your ideas here on Behance. If you're watching on YouTube, come over to Behance so you can participate in the chat. And we're creating a love note with Josh Ryan. He's going to be illustrating on Fresco. And if you want to see what he did yesterday, you can watch the replay from yesterday. This is a continuation. This is a new theme. Yesterday's theme was Adobe Illustrator, and we wrote a love note that's Illustrator themed. And today's theme is self-care. So we're taking ideas from the chat on what they do to appreciate themselves and just relax and just enjoy. Uriel says, when you're sleeping on yourself, recharge with a nap.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a nice one.
Yeah. Tirmia says, where there's nap, there is a me.
There's like a lot of things about here about like unplugging and going outdoors. I wonder if there's like a pun on like I can going out with myself, like because like going out is also like dating, like we're going out.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe just like go out with yourself, and then we can surround it with all these things like wine and like take yourself out.
Wow, Eric Samuelson says, slept on is a great idea or not such a great idea. Sleep on it to see, because sleeping on something, it's like also a different meaning of thinking about it more.
Yeah.
There's so many different meanings with sleep. So it could be like, do you want to go out with me? I'll have to sleep on it, or something like that.
I think I'm going to go with take yourself out, and then we can draw a whole bunch of fun things around it so we can incorporate everybody's thing.
Yeah. Because you could take yourself out on a date and have wine, or you could take yourself out on a hike or a bike ride or whatever you want to do in the outdoors. All right, we're jumping in, everyone. Get ready. There's a new clean slate on Fresco. And Josh is using the pencil brush right now.
That's not how an art looks.
He's using the pencil brush just to put some really rough sketches up, and then he's going to go over it in different layers.
I feel like I spelled yourself wrong. I'm going to have to Google.
It's correct.
Okay, it is correct.
I mean, if that is an O, that's correct.
Yeah, not that anybody could read it anyway. Something like that.
Oh, I just realized the word takeout also means getting food delivered to your house. So
yeah,
that's another thing.
The cover for one of my books is a love note that says we should go out but not out, and it's like a Chinese food takeout container.
Yeah, nice.
That's one of my favorite things, is to have a nice inside date night.
Uriel brought that into my head because they said I love takeout.
Do you want to pick? We had the 3 truths and a lie. I should maybe reveal one of the truths.
Yeah.
A lot of people said WWE style wrestler was not true. WWE style wrestler is 100% true. I was before all this went down a pro wrestler of some sort.
Before what went down? The pandemic?
Before the pandemic, when we could still go out and do shows and stuff.
That's not what I expected. I'm so impressed.
So we have a comedy group here in Houston called Doomsday, and we do kind of a comedic version of WWE style wrestling. So it's more like a comedy improv-y type show told through the form of wrestling.
That's so funny. I want to see a video of that.
I feel like we might have some. If you Google Doomsday Wrestling, there's something somewhere. My character. All right, I'm gonna pop off the camera for 1 second, and I'll pop right back on the camera.
While he's gone, I want to say hi to Yasushi, who just joined. Welcome. If you're just joining, let us know where you're from so we can say hi. Oh, look at this.
This is my character. My character is a food-based luchador called the Lunchador. And that's my friend
so funny.
Robin made me this sandwich mask, which I love so much.
What, you're taking it off? Oh no, I thought he was going to wear it.
It would have been too hard to draw the whole time with that thing on.
You would only draw up to a certain point because you can't see below it.
Yeah, it's hard to see down. It's good to see straight in front of you, so it'd have to be all the way down the whole time.
I love that.
But yeah, the Lunchador.
That's so funny. I think people liked it in the chat. Fairy says, Josh sandwich. Felix says, cool. I'm glad you think it's cool, Felix, because there's a lot going on here. Carrie loves it. Someone asked earlier if that's a digital ruler. GRT Mia asked, yes, the ruler tool in Fresco is at the bottom right where Josh just clicked. So you can use it to make your straight lines. The most useful thing.
Yeah, it's so. I talked yesterday. I messed up this grid. I talked yesterday about the grid and how much I like to grid stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the ruler is just so useful for that. To like quickly grid stuff out.
In the chat, let us know if you've used Adobe Fresco before, and if so, what have you drawn on there? I'd love to know. What are your favorite brushes? We're going to get questions about the brushes you're using, so let's make sure to call them out so I remember what they are.
All right, sorry, yeah. So I got pencil, going back to pencil right now because I forgot to do my, I'm sure there's a fancy typographic name for what these lines are, but I don't know what it is.
I think it's just the angle. So why do you make these lines?
So I do this to help me get for the scripty font to make sure that all my letters are at the same stress. They're all kind of leaning the same way. That's one of like the big things that can make that you might not notice it at first. Like if something will just look off, and usually the reason why for like scripty stuff is because you have either the weight of your stroke wrong or just how it's leaning isn't correct.
Yeah, so it's important that the angle is consistent across all the letters. So this is a really good trick to do that. Felix has never used Fresco. May have to get an iPad. Yeah, you could also try it on your phone. It also works on your iPhone. So if you want to try that in a smaller version.
So I'm using now Monoweight Texture Liner from Retro Supply Co., which is just a grungy monoweight brush. Most of the brushes I use are kind of grungy mono weights. The round detailer is really nice. Kyle's comics inker and his cartoon one are really nice. I really like the manga brushes that Kyle did. Are also really great to use. Okay. Actually turn smoothing all the way up because I am not good at lettering.
Clever says, I love Fresco, love its pencil for doodling. Yeah, I use the pencil the most, I think. It's just really feels really intuitive. It feels like a real pencil. And doodling is one of my acts of self-care for sure.
That's like my favorite thing about Fresco is just like how natural and like real everything looks.
Yeah.
E's are always hard because they have like a weird slantiness to them.
My trick with the E is that I just do the C part first.
Oh.
And then I fill in the other loop after, instead of making the entrance stroke have to be the same angle as that loop, because it does restrict you a little bit. And sometimes the loop gets too small. But that's my secret trick. No one else can know.
So it's like a... Ooh. That is smart. Smart.
Yeah. But I would make the K exit stroke go hit higher. But I mean, in the next
pass.
Yeah. Paloma says, I love cursive. Cody says, who else here is terrible at cursive like me? Takes a lot of practice to feel like you're good at lettering, for sure. It's not something that you just sit down one day and get really good at it. It takes sometimes years, sometimes months. So let us know if you've practiced lettering, if you feel like you're terrible, if you need advice or encouragement.
Oh my gosh, this C to the E thing is changing my life.
It looks so much better. I like it.
Yeah, I am terrible. I mean, everybody saw my scribbling earlier. I am not good. I do not have good handwriting. I took handwriting lessons for like 4 years, like on top of like going to school handwriting classes. Like I had like handwriting tutors, and still not good. So
I think it goes to show how important it is to set up your grid and like think about your composition, because that's the main thing, making sure your composition is pleasing to the eye, that you have constraints set out for yourself. And also the number one rule of lettering is that someone can read it. So it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's legible, it's clear, and you've put thought into how it's all organized on the page. That's the most important stuff. So,
and I talked
you've got
yesterday
it.
about how like I started off by just customizing, like finding fonts and then customizing it. That's a good way to learn, is just by like if there's a font style you like, just trace it over and over and over until it like naturally becomes part of your rhythm, or a part of your muscle memory, or take fonts and that you like and customize them so that they're like perfect for you, like they're the mix and match, like, oh, I like how this O looks from this one, and I like this P from that one, and just mix and match to make your own kind of style.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be super, like, you don't have to have good handwriting, and you don't have to start out like making complete full pieces of lettering all by yourself. You can start by customizing type and then work your way into lettering.
Lindsay says, I practiced and am terrible. It's definitely not my forte.
I really just have like these two, the scripty style and then like a blocky lettering style that I do over and over. So don't need to have, there's some people that are amazing at doing any style that they put their mind to, but you can also just be good at one or two and just do those over and over and over.
Alana says, love your work, Josh. Lettering is definitely a labor of love. That's true.
All right, so now we've got, whoop, now we accidentally left the project and we're back. So now we've got the rough bones. We'll probably go over it one or two more times.
Giortier Mia asked if lettering is supposed to have any hard rules. I think the main rule is that you can read it. And remembering that you're drawing letters, because a lot of times I see lettering pieces that someone tried really hard and they created something that looks really cool, but then you can't read what it says. And that's violating the only rule, is that it's supposed to say something. So
there's also like graffiti and stuff where they kind of intentionally push it to the boundary of like, you have to know, you have to really look at it You have to really study it to figure out what it's saying. Like they're ambiguous, like, or they're purposefully making it kind of hard to read or hard to decipher.
Yeah, and that's another type of artwork where they know that most people won't be able to read it, or they know that people will need context, and they use that to be more creative. So, yeah, unless you're doing that style of graffiti, I would say, yeah,
Keep
Josh
keep it
found
readable.
a loophole in my rule, but keep it readable otherwise.
But it's still supposed to be, it's kind of like black to me, it's like black lettering, where it's like black lettering to us today isn't, it's hard for a lot of people to read because it's very like ornate, but it's readable to people that learn to read black lettering, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and black letter that Josh is talking about is the style that you might have seen fonts called Old English, or um, you might have seen newspaper mastheads that use this style. And it is created using a fixed width or square pen. And the first book, or the first printing that was ever done, was in black letter style, and people were really accustomed to reading texts in that style. But now we're not accustomed to it at all, so it seems super hard to read. Let's see what everyone is saying. We got a question. Marshall says, Josh, you mentioned yesterday that you have a Japanese tutor. Do you use kanji for any of your work?
Um, I've just started learning kanji in the last month, and kanji is very, very, very difficult. But very, very fun because kanji are made up of other kanji. So it's kind of like when you learn like Latin and you can figure out like, it's like, oh, I don't know what this word means, but I know it's got this Latin word and this Latin word together. So
Mm-hmm.
there'll be like the kanji for like adult is like big and person next to each other. So like big person, adult, or like small person is it, or no, child is its own kanji. But I think also small person can mean child as well. So it's very interesting to learn. I've done maybe one or two on my Instagram of kanji. Mostly the one that I remember is like I did um kidai and kidei. Those are two different words, kidai and kidei. One of them means beautiful and one of them means to hate something. So they're very,
Oh.
it's like one vowel sound away. And I've definitely mixed it up in my Japanese lesson. And my teacher was like, nope, nope, nope. Make sure you don't screw that one up.
I feel like every language has those words that are really similar, but you can get yourself into trouble if you say it wrong. Fairy says you should start with hiragana and katakana. Definitely, you can't just start with kanji. That would be, I don't know if that's even possible.
Yeah, everything can be written in hiragana and katakana. It's just colloquially
Mm-hmm.
usually written in kanji with hiragana and katakana. But yeah, definitely like my textbook that I study for, it's like the first 5 chapters are all hiragana, katakana, and then like chapter 5, it starts like taking out the English and putting in more kanji.
Uriel says, you're beautiful. Don't hate yourself. You can use both of the words in one sentence. So I think a lot of our people in the chat have just joined, so I just want to say we're here in Adobe Fresco with Josh Ryan. We're live, in case you're wondering. I always hear, is this really live? And if you're joining on YouTube, make sure you come over to Behance so you can be part of the chat and tell us where you're from. Tell us if this is your first time joining Adobe Live, because I know we always have a lot of first timers, and where you heard about it, how you came to be here with us. So we'd love to hear. In about, what time will it be? Let's see. We've been here for almost an hour. In about 40 minutes or so, we're going to be showing an artist spotlight. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to nominate your fellow creative for an artist spotlight, you can do so here on Behance in the chat tab. You can see this little other tab that says artist spotlight at the top. Just click on that and see the information, and stay tuned to see who it is. It's going to be a surprise.
A surprise.
Yes.
So
we have, sorry, go ahead.
I actually don't, maybe I'll do one more pass. I actually don't mind this, honestly.
Yeah, it looks good. We do have someone that said it's their first time, and I don't know exactly how to pronounce your name. It looks like a Turkish name, Yeet. I think the G is silent, but I'm not sure. Let me know how to pronounce it so I can say it properly. But it looks like it's your first time here. Welcome. And we have a question from Jordan that was talking about cursive. Like, are kids these days learning cursive, learning handwriting in schools? I'm not sure. I don't think a majority of them are. I definitely learned cursive in school. I have very vivid memories of that, I think in 4th and 5th grade. But I don't know what's happening now.
All right, I think I'm going to roll with this. I'm probably going to tuck take in there a little bit closer. I'd like to take a moment to do my own shout outs, separate from the shout out we're going to do later. One last group of shout outs because I hate hogging the spotlight. So here are some of my friends that also have amazing side projects, like my Introflirted project. There's Belinda Koo, who has this fun project where she does like fairy tales mashed up with food. So this one says, "When will my reflections show what I ate last night?" Which is like a Mulan reference. There's Wyndon, who we talked about earlier, for that sweatshirt, the Professional Overthinker sweatshirt I was wearing yesterday that everybody really liked. My buddy Annie Wong, aka Head Explodey, who does like awesome stop motion claymation things. And her passion project is called Overreactions, but spelled like ovaries. And it's all about like women's health and like that's like celebrating yourself and all the fun and strange things that come along with being a woman. But her style, like I love her animations so much. It reminds me of like old school like Pee-wee's Playhouse, like the stop motion cartoons and claymation they used to have. Her stuff is so much fun. And Chen, who I think has been on a couple live streams, is just like an amazing letterer and mural maker, and it's insane how good she is. Chie Tamada, who does like a lot of stuff around working out and exercising and being like healthy, but also mashing it up with like food a lot of the time and like self-care, and her stuff's great. And then there's Taylor Lee Nicholson, who did like the paper mache head that I showed yesterday. I don't know if you guys can see that on cam, but
yeah,
there was a paper mache head of me that she made. I'm in like the bottom corner. And she also did like Meg Lewis and Annie, who's in there. But yeah, really fun, amazing creatives that are super inspiring to me.
That's great. I actually follow 3 or 4 of those. So now I feel like I'm in the know.
Now we're all in the cool club.
Like, I know them. That's great. And I'm glad that you're highlighting some other creatives you admire. And we're all about uplifting others in our community here. So that's why we're also going to do our artist spotlight. And that's why we encourage everyone in the chat to suggest people for that spotlight in the future.
Okay, last, we'll finish off 2 truths and a lie. So pro wrestler we found out was true. And there's 2 other here's National Award for Falling on My Face and having a starring role in a movie with David Hasselhoff. So debate those for a minute.
Any last guesses?
Any last guesses which one of those is true?
I think that for some reason the falling on your face sounds true because it's so random. And I don't know how it works, but I just have a feeling it's true.
So the falling on my face is true.
I was right.
You were right. Anybody who guessed right, give yourself some sort of a prize. So yeah, I did in college. I did kind of self-organized gymnastics, and I fell on my face at a meet, and they had fun awards at the national level meet, and I fell on my face, and one of the fun awards was like best wipeout, and so they gave me an award. Like, I didn't expect to win an award, so I didn't show up I showed up late to the award ceremony, and when I walk in, like 5 people come and like, Josh, you won an award.
That's
I was like,
so funny.
I'm not good. Like, I didn't place on anything. Like, no, for your fall. Thanks.
Carrie called it. Carrie said the Hoff is the lie. Uriel also called it, said the first one is true. Good job. Jiro Tirmia, you got it wrong. That's okay. We'll forgive you.
I'll pull up the watercolor brush and just do a wash.
Yeet, greetings to Turkey. I hope you're doing well over there. We did get an answer based on evidence about cursive. Lindsay said her niece and nephew are both learning it in school now because there was such an uproar about them not learning it. I'm glad there was an uproar. Ooh, this pink looks really good. So you're using the watercolor.
Yeah, I'm using the watercolor live brush, which is like the live brushes are, I think, the real powerhouse of Fresco. This is not an ad read for Fresco. I generally think they're a powerhouse, but they're like so. I hate doing paint and watercolor in real life because it makes such a mess, and I'm like, I hate the cleaning up afterwards. So just my studio just usually ends up a mess of like cups of water that might be paint water that I actually accidentally drink instead of my real water. But this is a good way to get like realistic looking watercolor and paint without having the mess or accidentally drinking paint water.
Yeah. Do you mind showing a couple of the tools at the bottom, like what those 2 droplet things are?
Yes, I absolutely know exactly what all of these things do. I think water flow is like the mix of paint to water, correct?
Yeah, if you add more water flow, it like seeps out more, and it mixes more with the colors around it. So the less water flow, it's just like having a brush in analog that's a little bit drier. And then right above that is the opacity. So you can get the color to be stronger or lighter.
And then I know if you put your finger on the thingy here, that's just like if you're painting with more water, right? It adds water.
Oh, I never used that thingy. But I know it adds a lot of shortcuts depending on, yeah, it says pure water.
Yeah.
So maybe that is equivalent to adding more water using the droplets.
I think it's like if you're using a brush with no paint on it at all.
Oh, pure water. Okay, I get it. Because now it makes sense because with other brushes, it acts as an eraser if you hold that down. So it makes sense that it would be the just water. So if you're mixing different colors and you just want them to blend in more, you can add that.
Yeah.
Clever says the touch modifier is awesome. Yes, I should use it more. Jordan asked which iPad this is.
The 12.9-inch iPad Pro, I think last year's model. I don't know if the new models come out between this one. Knowing my luck, anytime I buy something, a new model comes out the next week, so there's probably a new model. So the David Hasselhoff thing it was one of those like trick things where it's a lie but not a lie.
Oh.
I am in a movie with David Hasselhoff. I was not in a starring role in the movie.
Oh.
I'm in the background for like 5 seconds. And then I'm out.
When was that?
That was 2012, 13. There was a movie on Kickstarter that was a kung fu action movie that was released on YouTube. If you gave them enough money, you could fly over to Sweden and be in the movie.
Oh, and that's what you did?
And that's what I spend my money on. I wanted to go to Sweden. I don't know if anybody's here is from Stockholm or has been to Stockholm. Stockholm has, it's so beautiful. So many amazing museums from like modern art. They have like this old Norse ship that was like found perfectly preserved from like centuries ago. So it's like this giant ship that takes up like a whole warehouse that you can go see. And it's all intricately carved and stuff. It's insane. But the greatest museum on earth is in Stockholm, and it is the ABBA Museum for the band ABBA. Yeah. And it is the best museum in the world. There's so many interactive things where you like mix their songs.
How long did you stay there? And let us know, chat, if you've been to Stockholm. I've never been, but now I want to go.
I just went for like a week. Put like a sun here. But it's got like, you mix their songs. There's like a thing where it's like a digital hologram projection where they project all the other members of ABBA, and you stand on stage as like the fictional fifth member, and you get to do like Mamma Mia or any of the other songs.
That's so cool.
I'm just going to start filling in things that we do to take care of ourselves. This is supposed to be a wine glass. So if chat wants to throw in any ideas for things that we can fill in here. I know there was like yoga and meditation.
Yeah, let us know what else we can put on here. Ways of caring for yourself or having fun when you're home or when you go out by yourself, appreciating yourself. Clever says, I love Sweden and road tripped Sweden and Norway in 2018. Vasa Museum is amazing in Stockholm.
Yeah, I think Vasa is the ship. Vasa.
Oh, okay, cool. Marshall asked what your favorite ABBA song is.
It's Gimme, Gimme, Gimme.
Gimme, gimme, gimme a man after midnight.
Won't you take the night and give me no. I changed the lyrics so that we didn't get pinged by YouTube, because that was a spot on. It sounded identical to to ABBA, and we would have gotten flagged if I would have
I
said the actual
know.
lyrics.
Oh, we have to be careful.
We have to be careful.
Keith says pizza. Giortirmia says guitar. Fairy says bread. Kitten, biscuit, dog, coffee, video game controller. Oh, there's so many suggestions. ZZZ for naps. I love that one.
Oh, yeah.
That was from Geotermia again. Plants, cats, pillows, water, and Netflix.
Cat over here. Yeah, gimme, gimme, gimme is if anybody ever goes karaoke with me. That's my big song.
Yeah, that's a great one. I can't choose a favorite ABBA song. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. I really like Thank You for the Music. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it has such a nice message. Is that what it's called? Yes. Thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy you're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be?
Getting taken down.
I can't sing anymore because I'll be taken down because I sound exactly like it.
We are doing spot on ABBA. This is now an ABBA stream. Sorry, Adobe. It's now Abadobe.
Abadobe.
Abadobe. Cats, pillows, plants. Plants was one. I don't own plants.
What? What about fake plants?
Listen, we don't want to get into my commitment issues, but plants are a big commitment. I can try to draw what I remember a plant looking like the last time I saw a plant, which I think is something like this.
That's very accurate. Keith Landry says, the whole mainline team is watching you during their virtual lunch.
Oh, no. So Mainline is an esports tournament software company, and that's where I work at by day. I took a little break to come do this stream, and right now they're having like a team, because we're all virtual, we can't eat in a lunchroom together anymore. So they're doing like a virtual team lunch right now where we get on a Google Hangout and we say that we're going to eat lunch, but nobody ever really eats. Like only 3 people really eat lunch because I think people just feel self-conscious like eating on camera.
It's also with different time zones sometimes. Like I know for my team, there's some people in New York, some people in Europe. So it's either like a happy hour or a lunch, depending on where you are, or breakfast. So sometimes people are at different stages in their day. But that's great that your team does that. Let us know in the chat if you've been working remotely. What are some of the things that your team or you have done to keep connected? I think virtual lunches or virtual happy hours, sometimes it can get tiring to be on Zoom all day. But if you have a theme, like my team, we do trivia sometimes, and you can do that really well virtually. It becomes pretty fun. Oh, and Tirmia says add a takeout box. Yeah, we definitely should do that. We talked about that earlier. Uriel says put a dancing queen on the card. Dancing queen.
We're gonna get, I'm sorry, Adobe, that this is gonna get flagged for our spot on pitch perfect ABBA songs.
Fairy says Abadobe Cadabra. Magic.
Honestly, I think ABBA doesn't get the respect they deserve for all the hits that they wrote.
It's pretty amazing. If you just think about it in your head, you might not remember how many ABBA songs you know, but once you look at the list, you realize you know pretty much all of them.
Like they did a whole musical movie based on the. I've never seen Mamma
Yeah.
Mia. That's a shame. That's probably a crime.
Oh,
But
yes, you should definitely see it.
I feel like they used only ABBA songs.
They did. Ingrid says the name of the game is her favorite. That's a good one.
Uh, any other things? A plant, coffee, pizza, wine, nap, pie, game controller, sun. I don't know how to do yoga without drawing. I'm trying to avoid drawing people because people are hard to draw.
That is true. Yeah, the only one I can think of with yoga is just a cross-legged person. Maybe you could do like hands like this, like the
Uh,
emoji. I don't know.
yeah.
But I know hands are also hard, so I don't blame you if you don't do them.
Wonder. Wonder if it'll let us do it.
Marshall says, "Can you add a luchador?" What are you typing? Oh, you're putting an emoji?
See if it. Let's see. This is going to be a big win or a big fail for the Fresco team. I'm putting you. I'm putting you on the spot. Where's praying
I see
hands?
it. It's
Oh,
towards
there
the
it is. There it
right.
is. There's. Oh.
I think that. Hmm.
All right. Feature request. Moving forward. Uh, adding emoji support.
Yeah, there is an emoji font that is bundled with some of our other apps, but I don't think it's here. But we will figure out how to do that.
We'll figure it
I
out.
know that we do have some ornament fonts on Adobe fonts that are available, but I don't know which ones have this symbol,
So
if
praying
any.
hands. I'm gonna nix that one. Listen, it's a big feature to add. You probably have there's a whole emoji team on it right now at Adobe HQ.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that there's so many different types of emoji. Like we have the Apple emoji that we use on our Apple devices, but that's just one kind, and they're fonts. So it's a font that you have to somehow embed in this tool.
Yeah.
Because like when you're typing on your keyboard, we're rendering whatever you typed into a font. So the font has to have those characters.
Yeah, and like if I'm texting an Android, their emoji for the same emoji will look different.
Yeah, that always freaks me out. I'm like, what is this weird face? Is that what I sent you?
I think.
And I've actually seen a talk about that where it shows like miscommunications between people because the Apple emoji, let's say, of the octopus might look friendly and then the Android one looks really scary. And someone's like, why did you send me this? And they're like, oh, I thought I was being fun.
It was a fun octopus.
And they're like, no.
Yeah. I think a friend of a friend actually like there's a international whatever that decides what the official emojis are.
It's
And
called Unicode, the
Unicode.
Unicode Consortium. Yeah.
And I think a friend of a friend here in Houston actually got like an emoji approved. I want to say it was like
That's great.
rollerblading or something like that. That was like, why isn't rollerblading in here?
Yeah, you can definitely propose emojis. You just have to make a proposal to Unicode, and then every year they introduce new ones. I remember when the dumpling was introduced, I was really excited. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. and someone had to do a whole proposal and they had to design it, and then there have to be designs for every platform. So it's a whole process, which is really interesting.
So right now I'm using the lasso tool, which is a way you can like select and mask things, but I'm using it to select and transform these things to make them fit better around this stuff.
That's the beauty of digital illustration, that you can move things around so easily.
Put a little dumpling guy over here. Now that we talked about dumplings, I feel dumplings are a form of...
Yes. Now I want dumplings. Clever said, the unicorn concert. Got it. Yes, it's the unicorn concert that decides on the emojis.
There's a concert of unicorns, and whatever their set list is. Any other things to include in here?
Marshall asked if you can add a luchador. So just letting you know, that was a request.
Okay, I think I can work in luchador.
I'm trying to remember what else people said. I think we incorporated most of the stuff. Ice cream was another one.
Didn't do ice cream. I'm actually gonna layer group, merge layers and group.
Boba tea. Oh, Fairy said boba tea. Farah said bubble tea. You guys are really feeding off of each other there.
I'm just gonna do a placeholder. Boba.
Adunalua also said boba tea, so that's getting some traction. I'm getting hungry now for all this stuff.
Another thing is like the swatches thing right here. I don't know if you guys can see, you can sync your swatches to the cloud so that like whether I'm working on iPad or Illustrator or Photoshop, I can access these are like my brand colors more or less.
Mm-hmm.
So I can access those really quickly, which is really nice. We need brighter than that.
Clever says, I gotta make some boba when it gets cold this weekend. Is it gonna be hot boba? I've only had it cold.
That's interesting. Hot boba. Sure.
I just don't get it. When it gets cold, Clever wants to make boba. What about some hearts? As we need some space fillers, probably like little hearts. Yeah. It is Valentine's Day coming up after all. Oh, Clever says, I'm cooking the boba and you have to boil it. So you're making like the little balls from scratch? Let us know.
Can we get that on Adobe Live? How to make your own boba? That is of great interest to me. So that I stop going broke, spending all my money buying boba.
Devon says, I have never had boba tea. What is it? Well, you have to discover
It's
this
like,
because it's very good.
yeah, it's like tea with little like jelly tapioca things in it, I do believe.
Yes, it's a Taiwanese milk tea. And then you can add, usually it has those tapioca balls in it.
There's a, I really like a place in town here does like little like gummy bear looking things, but they're lychee. And that's really fun to put those in there.
People are saying they're called pearls. Pearls sounds much better, so I will call them pearls from now on.
Sounds so fancy. Like
Tapioca lychee pearls.
I drink my tea with pearls in it. Fetch the pearls. I'm gonna have my tea.
Fairy's asking, what's your favorite flavor for your boba tea? Yeah, everyone in the chat, let us know if you've had boba tea. What's your favorite flavor, or what are your favorite type of pearls to put in? I really like lychee. And I have to say that I don't really like very sweet things. So when I have the option and they ask you what percentage of sweetness you want your boba tea, I usually say like 25% sweet or kind of on the low end. But I love that you can customize that.
Yeah, I'm on like the coffee side of, I usually do the coffee boba.
So you're adding a drop shadow here and you're just filling in some of the parts because you just duplicated it, right? So then there's parts that you want to fill in to make it look like
it's 3D, correct. So yeah, I just duplicated it, dragged it down, and now I'm filling in the gaps between the top layer and like the little 3D bottom layer. And inevitably I will miss one and we will all discover it together at the end. Hopefully the chat catches it before we get too far. But if not, that's the joy of lettering.
I think between the S and the E,
oh yeah,
there's this line. I don't know where that came from. Is it on another layer?
I think I like did a thing.
Yeah,
I did
because I don't think it was there before.
We're gonna try.
But you could go over it with white.
Gonna do.
Yeah.
To people in the studio, can you just block out this part where I'm fixing it? Just cut the feed and then splice it back together to make it look like I didn't mess up earlier.
Josh never messes up, so
no artist has ever messed up. Yeah, artists are just perfection always. It's not trial and error. So I'm gonna erase too much so that I can fill it back in and get that texture to match. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Nope.
What happened?
I was trying to do the eyedropper and I was in watercolor mode. That's a nice shortcut. If you want to eyedropper something, you just like hold your hand on it and it'll eyedropper that color for you.
Nice.
And it's like nothing ever happened. And I made 2 more lines right there in the corner.
Now it looks perfect.
And we can go back and put in boba to please the chat. I'm going to select the pencil brush again. Should just add that to my favorites real quick because I use it a lot.
Cody says, at least you can undo digital watercolor. That's true.
And you can like hard erase. That's also the good thing is like you can like hard erase digital
Yeah.
watercolor, which you can't with regular watercolor.
Hi, Barry Hall. Barry says, nice. Glad you're joining us. And for anyone who's joined us but watching on YouTube, come over to Behance so that you can say hi in the chat. We can only see the chat on Behance. And in 10 minutes, we're going to be doing an artist spotlight. So I'll be showing off a Behance profile of an artist that's been recommended to us. We can all give them some love. If you want to recommend one of your fellow creatives for this spotlight, you can do so. Just check out the artist spotlight tab above the chat here on Behance and see all the info. And if you're kind of new to this stream, we are in Adobe Fresco and we have Josh Ryan. He's creating a love note and the theme is self-care and the slogan is take yourself out. And we have all these different little illustrations that come from all of you in the chat, giving us suggestions about things that you like to do, things that bring you joy. And I think it's a great positive message for just appreciating yourself. So it's great. Hi, Ignacio, welcome.
All right, I'm going to use Kyle's cartoon nib, I believe. That's what we'll go with for this. Changing the shape dynamics to make it a little less variable and more consistent line weight wise. Here we go.
Selena's back. Hi, Selena. She's loving all the little illustrations.
Selena. Selena's another Texas lettering friend. I think I shouted her out yesterday. She was in one of the shout out groups.
Yes, I remember.
And she also has a couple lives here on Adobe, one or two, I believe. So go look those up on Behance.
So besides Adobe Fresco, what's your favorite Adobe app to use, Josh?
I like Adobe Acrobat to send to clients to get them to pay me. Getting paid is I love making art. Getting paid is nice too. So yeah, Adobe's like DocuSign stuff or Adobe's signature stuff, so you can like sign contracts and stuff like that has been very useful. But on like an art creation side, Photoshop is probably like my bread and butter. Like I started with Photoshop back in high school in 2000, a long time ago. And so that's probably my favorite. I've grown to love Illustrator though I do a lot of like enamel pins. And it's great for doing vector stuff for those enamel pins.
Do you get commissioned to make these enamel pin designs, or are you selling them on your own site?
For the most part, I've sold them on my own site, though lately I've been getting more and more enamel pins, especially for like breweries here in Houston. Uh, I just did, and I need to go pick it up. Uh, I just did a pin for Beam Suntory, which is like they make Suntory whiskey and just like Jim Beam, and just like if you've gone to Japan, Suntory is everything, like soda,
Yeah.
water, like every beverage, coffee, like Boss Coffee, I believe, is a Suntory brand.
It's like Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
Like you see it everywhere.
it is everywhere. So it was super cool, and I got to use some of my Japanese uh, on there on the pin itself. So yeah,
That's such a cool opportunity.
it happened randomly. Like they didn't even know that I knew some Japanese and that I was like studying Japanese. And they're like, we want to use some like katakana on here, and we'll send that over to you. And I was like, well, I can read some basic katakana.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing to have put your time into learning and then be able to surprise a client. And I'm sure they would like remember you and want to work with you again. So that's cool. So Barry says, I like the idea of digitally working over digital sketches. I don't work like that. I'll have to try it. Barry, what kind of design do you usually do and what apps do you use? Uriel says, I started on Photoshop in high school as well in 1990. You must have a lot of experience. You must have seen so many versions of Photoshop come out in that time, which is cool. Jonelle says, hello. Hi, Jonelle. Welcome. Where are you from?
Yeah, when I was working, it was like Photoshop, and then I did a lot of Flash, and it was before Adobe had gotten Flash. So it was still like
Macromedia.
yeah, Macromedia Flash. And it was like Photoshop 5.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Back in my day.
So someone drank a little too much wine and they're sloshing their wine glass around.
They're just having fun and just letting it ride.
When I'm taking myself out on a date with wine, I'm definitely just letting the wine get everywhere. Lindsay says, I started on PageMaker in 1992. I was a child. I learned PageMaker before I learned Word because my mom was a journalism major.
Oh.
That's so interesting. We have Julisha Kim here. She says, hi. Hey, welcome.
Hey. Stick around, Julisha. For no reason in particular, but stick around.
Yeah, you might want to see what's going on the next few minutes.
Might want to hang out for a bit.
Jordan says the colors are a vibe. Yeah, I like this purple and pink together.
Usually, like that's my whole color palette. It's like lots of purples and pinks and pastels. Usually my hair is some sort of purple or pink, but I bleached it the other day and it's like the best I've ever bleached it. Like it didn't come out yellow at all, or not too yellow as usual.
Nice.
And so I decided to just ride with it until it starts yellowing, and then I'll go back to the safety of pink and purple.
Do you always have your hair dyed a specific, like it's always dyed a different color?
It's generally always like a pink or a purple, depending on, I use like a conditioner to color it. So it's like, it'll start purple and then like slowly fade to like a pink, and then I'll throw more purple in there, and it's a balancing act.
It's a lot of maintenance. I can barely maintain my hair, which is always the same.
Usually it's like it grows, like I let the color I let it grow out probably more than I should, but I don't mind letting the roots show.
Jonelle says, I started with Photoshop 6.5. I think I touched 5.5 once. We're likely the same age. Yeah, millennial memories of software.
Yeah, we're young, cool people.
One day the Gen Z or whatever the new one is, Alpha, whatever the kids are, they're going to be like, they're talking about Photoshop 5? What is that? Jordan says Josh's hair depends on his mood. Maybe. So we're coming up on our artist spotlight here. So I'll be sharing that. Let's see if I can get that up.
Okay.
So we have our artist revealed. It's Julisha Kim.
Whoa! You were psychic.
And she's here in the chat. Congrats, Julisha. You were recommended and we're showing off your work here. She's a freelance designer and letterer based in Seattle, Washington. And here's her Behance profile. I think first glance, I'm just really inspired by all the colors and it looks really bright and happy. So that's my first impression.
Yeah, the color palette, her color palettes are so great. I wish I could branch out from purple and pink into doing other color palettes like this, but it never works for me like it's working here. I really like the texture on that Rise and Unite, like how the letters are kind of 3D-ish. Like there's some shading to that. They're not just like different colors between each letter, but there's also like some shading to give it some like 3D pop to it.
Yeah, this is really awesome. You can tell that she put in a lot of work to get all that shading right. And I like all the other little illustrations. I think sometimes I struggle with my composition and deciding how to fill it in and make it more interesting. And all of the illustrations stand up on their own, like the little cloud and the little moon and the stars. They're just really well done.
Well, you said that you kind of struggle with that stuff. That's a great segue into an ad read that Julisha, you can pay me for on the back end. But I think Julisha released a set of brushes that are like these stars and these little like pops of like filigree and kind of fill items.
Oh.
I think she just released that. I saw
great.
On the Instagrams earlier.
That's really helpful. This is the BU 2021 diary, and it's a series of hand-lettered artwork to be featured in BU Italia's 2021 diary. This is really cool.
Oh, the gradient on that right one, that like that salmon to pink, that's just like, and then how like those stars kind of like have like little trails to them, like they're kind of shooting stars in the sky.
How did you do that? That looks so cool. She says, I just like to put stars everywhere. We can tell you love stars, but we love them too. Own your magic. This is cool. It's really playing with the size of the letters and their placement and being pretty experimental, but it really works just because it's so, every letter is so kind of skewed that as one, they just go together, and I love that.
Yeah, it's hard to like, to do like a lockup of words that fit together, but then to also like jumble the letters and have those words lock up into each other and still like read naturally is so difficult to do. And like, she nailed it.
Definitely. She said that she drew individual lines for these shooting stars. That's a lot of work, but it definitely paid off. And this one, wow. I would never imagine coming up with these dream letters. They're so interesting. Really cool.
Yeah, like mixing up the weight of them, and they still feel like they're kind of jumbledy weight-wise, but still feel even and readable.
Jumbledy is actually a typographic term for those of you that didn't know.
Yeah.
Jumbledy, Wumbledy. And here is a mural that she did, 5 by 5 foot mural in Mission Viejo, California. That's so cool.
That looks like gold foil, like, or gold leafing, like she leafed that border, which is so cool to do. And then just, I love, as I've said many times, like a monoline scripts, and just to paint and like to draw an even monoline script is hard. To paint a giant mural of one requires some skill there.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And to do it at that scale, I'm always impressed by muralists because it takes a lot of preparation. I mean, you can see here that she has to project her art on the wall. She has to do the tape. She has to paint it first. It looks like on the right here, she is working off of this projection and laying out all of her tape so that she can start filling in. It's just a long process, and I think that takes a lot of skill of organization and knowing what you need to do, understanding the scale. And it's not only the finished product when people say like, wow, this person has such a steady hand, or this person made such a cool design. That's just like 1/3, I would say, of the whole process.
Yeah.
So it's cool that Julisha showed all of the behind the scenes. And that's one great thing about Behance projects. You can show your process. Shall we go to another project? Here's an Easter mural for a church.
I just love that Eastery color palette and how she works it like into like every other. Some words it's like every other letter, and some words it's like just the whole word. So like it doesn't get too, using that typographic term of jumbledy again, it doesn't get too jumbledy. And it's like it's colored to help you like pace the reading and like place emphasis on certain words really well.
Yeah, and it's cool how some of the words have multiple colors within them.
Yeah.
But they still look like one word because of the style they've been drawn in.
And there's like so many different, there's like 4 or 5 different styles of type going on here. And it still feels like super cohesive, which is hard to do.
Oh, it's that big?
Whoa. I didn't even know it was big. That makes it even more impressive.
That's so cool. Yeah, I thought it was just like an 8x10 piece of paper, but maybe I didn't read the summary well enough. But that's really impressive. The fact that you drew all that with pencil first at that scale, and then you had to paint it all. Really awesome job. And there's one last one here. This is from Creative Mornings, Seattle. Awesome. And the pencil sketch lettering was done live during the talk, and then the digital lettering was completed post-talk. I wonder if we have a picture. Yes. Here's the...
insane to just be able to like listen to a talk and sketch out a whole layout as you're listening to it. Like you don't know what the content's going to be. Like people that do sketch notes just trip me out, but to get like something with this many like font styles that reads well, and you're doing it, it's like sight reading. Like if you're a musician, it's like sight reading a song you've never heard, but harder, I feel like maybe.
Definitely. Whoops, let me go back. So then she took that pencil drawing and she took it digital and refined it a little bit more, but it's pretty much the same layout.
Yeah.
So she nailed the layout at the beginning.
This is super great. And then like she just drew the Creative Mornings logo, like replicated it perfectly.
Yeah. That's really awesome. And I encourage all of you to follow Julisha, which I'm going to do right now, and appreciate her work. Well done on all the work that you're doing. And we are excited that we were able to share it with everybody.
Yeah, great work.
Yeah. And if you want to recommend any of your friends or fellow creatives that you know from the internet, definitely recommend them and we can share their work too next time. So should we jump back? Gotta jump back into Fresco and finish what we started. I think we have another 15 minutes left for Josh to finish his love note.
So I'm just going in and filling in the rest of these icons. Feel like somebody from my day job, since we work in gaming and esports, suggested this controller. We had a lot of people wanting boba, so we threw that in there.
Yes, the controller is great. Julisha says, thank you. Thank you, Josh, for featuring and everyone else for the love. You're welcome. Looking forward to see what else you create. Now that I'm following you, I'm going to follow you on all the platforms. Barry Hall says, I'm Illustrator all the way, but Illustrator capital I. When I first started using Illustrator 88, it had no layers. That's the OG. I'm looking to transition to originating work in bitmap and get off the vector habit. I like how you call it a habit. You've been addicted to Illustrator for so many years.
He's addicted. Oh, he's addicted to the vector. I was addicted to raster. I was like,
no.
I don't know how you get addicted to raster once you see how. I mean, raster is a lot easier on your mind, I feel like.
But for those of you that haven't used Fresco before, there's both vector and raster brushes. So you can draw with vector brushes as well and bring those into Illustrator directly. Jonelle says, I really need to add some new projects to my Behance. I think that when we show these artist spotlights, it really gives people the motivation to clean up their Behance or add all their latest projects, because you see what other people are doing and how they're being featured, and you want to make sure that you have the opportunity as well. I know for myself, I rarely update my Behance profile, but on days like these, it's like tonight I'll probably go in and start uploading things because I got that little push. Josh, how do you feel about sharing your work? Like, do you have a schedule of when you share things to Instagram or your website? Or
I should, but I'm. It's like you said, it's really hard to, like, making stuff is the fun part, I feel like, and sharing it is both not like, it's high pressure and just in terms of like it's scary to share your stuff out into the world. And then I think there's a lot of pressure on artists, especially nowadays, to be like, your stream has to be cohesive, like everything has to follow a plan. You can't do this thing and then that thing. Um, so yeah, it's very hard for me to share, but I've recently started just kind of like narrowing down my style, or just being less precious with what I'm sharing, like just share what I'm feeling that day, and not worrying too much about, like, it still doesn't feel great to not get likes on something, but like trying to not let that dictate if I think something's good or not.
Josh, you got a white dot next to your takeout box.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I totally agree about that. And I think I've recently been like, oh, do I have to make my Instagram all the same color? Like, I'm looking at these people's feeds and they're all really cohesive. And I might create something that I really like and it's like bright yellow. And I'm like, oh, I guess it wouldn't go with my feed because it's yellow. But it's really nonsense.
Yeah.
And people are not going to be like, why did she post that? It's a different color. Like, I can't believe she did that.
Yeah, I feel like we think people are paying more attention to our grid than they are, when really, like, we're all just seeing it in a feed of other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Like, very few people actually come and look at your whole grid to be like, ah, perfect grid. Nice. Everything's cohesive. I like it.
Yeah, I only make friends with people with perfect grids on Instagram. If you don't have that, then I won't talk to you.
And
I
like
hope
the
no one edits that out and makes it look like I said that.
the other thing is, like, Lauren Hom said this, I think last week. She was talking about, like, she had posted a video of her painting this big mural, and it got like a fair amount of likes, but then she painted, or she posted a video of her like painting over the mural to like get it back to a clean slate to work on the next one, and it got more likes than the original thing did. And
Yeah,
so
I
she's
saw
like,
that.
likes are not like indicative of how good or how bad something is. Like, uh especially on Instagram, it values like sharing a lot. So like, memes are gonna be like, memes are always gonna get more likes because they're about sharing. They're
Yeah.
naturally shareable. Whereas like artwork sometimes isn't something that you want to share to people, especially if it's something really deep and personal. Like, you don't want to like send it to a friend and be like, hey, I think you're going through this deep personal thing. Like, you might be embarrassed to share something like that. Um, like, just because it relates to you doesn't mean like you would share it, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
So likes aren't always indicative. Like, I did a dumb TikTok last week that's now at like 250,000 views, and like the same account where I post like my artwork, it's like not as many views, and it's hard to like not be it's hard to like not let yourself be upset by that, and to just kind of let that kind of roll off your back.
Yeah. Julisha says we're too self-critical as creatives. Lindsay says, I would imagine how you do your Insta feed depends on if you are an Instagram artist or an artist who uses Instagram. That's a great sentence. And I think that line is getting blurred, because a lot of times Instagram is the number one place where people will see your art. So you kind of become shaped by that in what you're creating. So getting out of that cycle is difficult. Ooh, we're adding color.
Yeah.
So we have only about 5 minutes left in this stream. It went by so fast today. So we'll be able to see you adding a little bit of color, and Let's see if anyone in the chat has some last minute questions for Josh. You only have a few minutes left with him live, so let us know. And if you have any comments about what you've seen or questions about Fresco, I'll be happy to answer in the next few minutes. Jonelle says, I do a good chunk of fan art and it's a bit hurtful when my original stuff doesn't get as much love. I'm sure it's for the same reason as why memes do better.
Yeah. I have a lot of complex feelings about fan art. As somebody who does I do a fair amount of fan art, but it's also, it's like, I think you just have to, I call it a marketing thirst trap. So it's like fan art is a way for people to connect with you and like relate to you on a personal level. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you like these things that I'm a fan on, you might like, we're all informed by the things that we like. So it's like, if you like my work on a personal level, you might like these other things I share. So just using fan art as a way to like draw people in with similar interests. And there is going to be a ton of people that are only there for the fan art, but there's going to be a small subset of people that you're pulling into your other art. So
yeah, it's a funnel, as we say in corporate jargon. Gr Tirmia asked, any tips for how to practice composition and layout?
I think just looking at other people's composition and layout, and there's a lot of people that make like pre-comp layouts you can buy. Yeah. That are like they're just like spaces for text to go in that you can kind of figure out phrases to fit into there. So I think, just like looking at what other people's layouts are, emulating them, looking at some of those like pre-comped grid layouts. What color is this cat gonna be?
Katie Baldridge says she likes your hair.
Thank you. I started like bleaching and cutting my own hair before the pandemic started, so it's like happy accident that I had already kind of gotten okay at doing it all myself when this all went down and we couldn't go get haircuts anymore.
Yeah, you had a head start. Let's see, can you color in the rest in like 2 minutes?
Definitely. Sure, that's a color of a guitar.
Yeah. Guitars come in any color, so don't worry about it. It's really nice how everything pops with this watercolor. So we talked about these watercolor brushes earlier, but you can see on the top left that Josh has selected these live brushes that's signified by that droplet. And the live brushes are either oil or watercolor. So we're using the watercolor one now, and it's so realistic and really one of the best features of Fresco. I think we can agree. Those of us here, the two of us.
Yeah, it's like, it's really like they nailed the realism and like making the water flow look realistic. Let's get this. I feel like this dumpling quite isn't reading as a dumpling, but you know what? You get what you get.
I can only see dumpling just because we said it, but yeah, what else does it look like, people? People in the chat.
People in the chat.
It looks like a cute face too. So, oh yeah, and you'll add little X's and O's, little hearts. So I guess you will be posting this on your Instagram, right? so they'll be able to see the finished product.
Yep, I posted yesterday's one up there earlier today. And yeah, I'll post this one on there.
Awesome.
Let me finish it up, but yeah.
Great. Well, we have to wrap up, and I want to thank everybody who joined because we had some great activity in the chat, great suggestions and questions. And we had a 2-day stream with Josh, so you can also watch the replay of yesterday's and today's and catch up on everything that we talked about. And this artwork will be posted on Josh's Instagram, I Make Things. Josh, it was a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you and like talking with everybody in the chat. It's so great that the chat turned up so loudly for all this and made it easier for me to just steal their ideas and make it seem like they were my own.
Yes, thank you for letting us take your ideas. And we'll see you again soon, Josh. It was great having you.
All right, great seeing you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.